This conference will now be recorded.
The individuals are not wanting right now to go to a third-party realtor. They just want to sell them back to the district for our purposes. So I'd recommend we take them and then we use them for district, or we use them to trade out for wastewater parcels.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Norton,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor McLaughlin,
Yes.
and President Gilpin.
Yes. Okay, action agenda. This is motion to approve the resolution 2025-07 public hearing to determine whether Sustainability Partners LLC unsolicited proposal for the design, construction, and financing of the proposed Florida wastewater plant and public works facility in the public interest pursuant to section 255065. Is there any public comment?
Mr. President, if you wouldn't mind saying the public hearing on this item is now open, and we'll leave it open for however long it takes, and then there'll be a motion to close the public hearing, followed by a vote, and then consideration from the board.
Okay, well, we have public comment here, so it's,
The public comment is the public hearing.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the public hearing will now start.
Doesn't look like we have any, so if there's a motion to close the public hearing,
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
and you can do a voice vote.
We need a voice.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Please call the vote.
Call the vote.
Okay. Supervisor Norton,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor McLaughlin,
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick, and President Gilpin.
Yes.
So this is just the ongoing administrative process for us to move forward. It's self-explanatory. You see the products there. They provided, Haskell and Sustainability provided their unsolicited bid. We had commentary and board discussion last month. We are now in the resolution phase to direct staff to move forward with a negotiated contract. You have a third party, our district engineers reviewed it. There's some language in there that we need to address in the contract. Once we work out the legal language in the contract over the next 30 days, we hopefully will bring this back to you, the final contract for execution, for them to commence the pre-work for our wastewater plant. So it's just an administrative action. We need this resolution to get authorization for us to start moving forward.
And in the resolution, there's a statutory requirement that the board make several findings related to the unsolicited proposal. If you look on page 1 of the resolution at the bottom, it's the last whereas clause. There's a enumerated list there. There are 5 items that you all are required to make findings in this resolution. The benefits to the public derived from the project, the financial structure, and the economic efficiencies achieved by the proposal, the qualifications and experience of the private entity that submitted the proposal, and such entity's ability to perform the project's compatibility with regional infrastructure plans, and public comments submitted during the meeting. In the body of the resolution, starting on page 2, section 3, that enumerated list is blown out, and there are all of the findings that our office was able to capture in consultation with BOZ and the proposers on how the proposal meets those 5 requirements. So they're all there in the resolution, and it would be helpful for the record if you all could acknowledge reviewing those items and acknowledging publicly here that you've reviewed those items and that you agree with those findings.
Do that by approving.
You do, yeah, but if you all could just say, I've reviewed the criteria and I believe the proposal meets the criteria as a part of your discussion, and then someone can make a motion to approve the resolution.
I thought we did.
Oh, we just did.
We just did it. We just did it.
You made a motion to close the public hearing.
So wasn't approving the resolution, it was the public hearing, sorry. Yeah.
Is there any comment from the board? Any of this?
Well, I have no comment. This is the same one that was in here.
Yes, ma'am.
This was just different language.
Yes, ma'am.
But it's.
Those
the
5
agenda's-
were in the packet.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I did read it, and I approve, yes.
Any public comment? This? Okay, I guess we just need a motion now, huh, Gary?
Yes, and if you wouldn't mind, just so the record's clear, in the memorandum that I prepared for this item, at the very end, at the bottom of the page in the last paragraph, there's a bolded and underlined section of that paragraph. If the desire is to approve the resolution, I would recommend just saying aye and then repeat that bolded, underlined language.
You have that copy, sir?
Somebody find it?
Mr. President, yeah,
It's under E.
it's under E towards the back. It's the memorandum, board agenda memorandum.
So you want us to approve the
The
motion?
The bolded language at the very bottom is
Yep.
what we need to get a motion on for approval. Towards the back of E, it's a one-page Sun Lake in the corner resolution memorandum.
You find it?
It's on
It
page
looks like this.
E.
Looks like
Yes.
this right here.
Got it.
What number is it, Greg?
Go be- After the scope of work passed, it's called the Board of Supervisors Meeting Agenda Memorandum.
What letter?
Keep going.
It's right here.
There.
Okay, I don't know if I can find it.
It's
In
under E,
about the
in
third
E,
page.
about the fourth page.
Yeah, and if anyone has it in front of them, they can
Yeah.
make a motion if they desire.
Just make a motion of that if you have it in front of you.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-07, determining that the unsolicited proposal from Sustainability Partners LLC in conjunction with the Haskell Company and the Ardera Group Incorporated for the design, construction, and financing of the proposed new wastewater plant and public works facility and related improvements is in the public's interest. Second.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor McLaughlin, Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Norton,
Yes.
and President Gilpin.
Yes,
Thank you much.
that's it.
That's it. So that passed.
Okay, now we have a discussion on the general manager's contract. I don't care who wants to start.
I guess let me start with kind of telling you how it came about, or what's all in it. Basically, section 1 just outlines exactly what we expect our general manager to perform. All of those are what he is expected to do, whether it be him or any new one would be required to have some duties. The term of the agreement, we look at 48 months, 4 years. I think it'd be in our best interest to have a long-term agreement with him. We had a 2-year, things have worked out extremely well, in my opinion, and I think that we should be able to go forward. This doesn't preclude us from, in the event that we find that he is not performing, there is a place to take the contract out for cause, or if he should resign, there's all kinds of different reasons that we could do that. Termination of agreement, of course, if he resigns, he's not entitled to having severance pay. If we were to terminate him without cause, he is entitled to severance pay. But it would seem to me if we wanted to remove him, we would have cause, and it's outlined as to what cause would be. So it's just identifies the causes. And again, goes through the different terminations, all the legalese, if you will. If he becomes disabled, a method that we could go ahead and remove him, and that's with cause, because it's failure to return to work, basically. On his salary, the outline of the salary was, he became an employee of Sun and Lake in late July of 23. In October 1st of 23, all employees of the district received a 3% COLA increase. That's included in this fee. In 23, all above average employees that were rated above average on their review were given a 5% increase. Somehow, through the cracks, he did not get the 5% increase, and he should have included a 5% per year, 23, 24.
23 and 20. And correct. For corrections, here,
Then another 5% for this year, effective October 1st of 5%, which would bring his total to 176, 298 per year. And it also would say that in the event any COLA is approved by the board for full-time employees, he would automatically become eligible for that. We would conduct an annual salary and performance review, which at that time would determine, it should be done 2 months prior to the end of the fiscal year. And you use that performance review basically to determine what, if any, merit increase he's entitled to. Section 6 outlines the things that we say that we will do for, basically a full golf membership, any information, appropriate technology devices for his use. He does spend a lot of time with his personal vehicle, driving to and from meetings at the committee, at the county level, state level, and for various other meetings that he needs to attend. His approximate use, based on IRS findings right now, which I believe was 77 cents per mile, if I'm not mistaken. 77 cents. So based on the amount of miles he said that he was actually utilizing, we came up with a fee of $400 per month for mileage. Hours of work, it basically is he is a salaried employee. If he's needed here, he needs to be here. It's not an 8-hour day, it's not a 10-hour day. It's when it's necessary, he's here, and especially during emergencies, etc. He's always reachable by phone. He's away from here. The other is dues and subscriptions for those things that he needs to be in touch with. Professional development, we want to continue with that. The general expenses, it's the same as what our other employees get, with the exception of when you come down to the 401 plan participation. He currently gets 6% of matching funds from the district for, if he puts in 5%, he gets 6%. This allows him to go to 7% this first year, then second year of the agreement, 8%, third year is 9%, and fourth year is 10%. And he shall be fully vested, which he already did after 3 years. The other, section 14 and 15, 16 is legalese. So that gives you the outline of the basics on how it came about, what's in the current proposal.
It,
So I have a
Okay.
question on the
anybody else? Go ahead, Greg.
So you said he got a 3% after year one.
3% COLA was given to everyone on October 1st of 23.
Okay.
And he didn't get it.
You said he did get the 3%.
He didn't.
Did not.
I'm using this. He didn't get a 3%. I've included to make him, in essence, whole from the base salary that he started with. He should have had a 3%. He didn't get it. So I'm saying we need to give him 3% now. In the next year, in the following year, he should have received a 5% increase for a job well done. He didn't receive that. how it slipped through the cracks, I'm not sure. Am I coming through all right? So I've included that to make it whole. And then the other 5% is for the upcoming year. He's had another successful year, and therefore he's entitled to what I believe to be a 5% increase for that year. None of it is retroactive. It becomes, it's from this point forth is what the salary.
So the 5% you're offering up for the next budget year, did that start on October 1 or does that start now?
Starts October 1.
Are you in agreement with that, boss?
I was understanding it starts when the contract goes live, but we can make it October 1.
I think it's fiscal year to fiscal
Yes,
year.
sir. I'd be fine with that.
So I have some heartache. No question about the way you've done your work. I think for the most part, the board is pleased. The district is probably pleased. The totality of it all, this is a big request. And the first issue I have is a 4-year contract. I think it's highly unusual to do 2, and now we're trying to double that, and that leaves the board at risk. Potentially 3 members will change in that period of time, if not more. People drop off the board, and I won't say they're stuck, but they have a contract already, and they won't have any influence on that contract going forward. I think that's a risk. I'm not comfortable with that. Vacation, 6 weeks for the 3rd year in, that's a big ask. I don't understand it. He doesn't really use it, in my opinion, so I'm not sure why it's being asked for. But that's a big ask. I'm not totally comfortable with that. Is there anyone else in the district that would get more than 4 weeks?
So for a general employee, it would be possible, but it's based on their accruals. So the way that a general employee is going to accrue vacation time, it's going to be split between whether they are exempt or non-exempt status, and then based on their tenure here with the district. So they will accrue time every time that they're paid, and that is just standard for all of us. And then what changes is the amount, the cap, if you will, on that vacation time of how much time a single employee can hold in an account at one time. So after 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, that cap will go up. So a single employee might have the opportunity to have 6 weeks of vacation in their account just based on how much time they have or haven't used and what their vacation cap is, how many total hours they can keep.
But they're not offered, starting now, you get 6 weeks per year.
General employees, no, we don't start with any vacation time. We accrue time as we go along.
That's district-wide?
That is going to be for any, obviously, non-contract employees, so any of our at-will employees.
Craig, I think you mentioned, I'm going on the 401A now. I thought you said he pays 5, we match 6. That doesn't seem normal to me.
That's also
That's what
standard.
All the employees get that.
Our retirement
This is
program,
just is separated for specifically a general manager.
Okay.
Because of the higher requirement from a general manager than
And
other
then
employees.
if it's in the second year of year 4, you go to 7%, works your way up to 10%.
Correct.
That's a lot. It's just, and,
I would
and again-
request that Ariel answers these questions, you know.
but he still would pay the fee.
What? I know what I signed to. And I know what I was in contact with her. I don't understand the complaint.
So at the end of year 4, he's still putting in 5%. We're matching that with 10. I just got to tell you, I'm uncomfortable with that. Another thing, I think on the original request from Boz, he said, exempt me from health insurance because I carry my own. So now we're giving a big raise, and he wants some health insurance addition.
Vision and dental.
Well, but it's additional, and that was not asked for up front because I have all this stuff. I don't need it.
Vision, dental, and life.
$250,000 life insurance.
Just a minute, John.
250 is for everyone.
So overall, in totality, I think this is a big request. I'm not comfortable with any one item by itself, although I probably am uncomfortable with the 401A matching request. My concern is overall is we have director level people who would probably not be eligible or that may bleed into their requesting similar increases. So I don't want to set the ball rolling down the hill. Well, if he gets it, then I should get it kind of thing. So I have a real concern with that. Overall, I guess I'm not totally thrilled with the idea. The man deserves a generous raise, in my opinion. But in totality, I would like further discussion than what we see before I could vote in the positive.
In regards to your concern over the contract years, every year, if 3 of you decided that he was doing an unsatisfactory job, you have the ability to remove him from the job for just cause, because it would be part of the various things we're outlining. So even though it's a 4-year contract, it doesn't automatically guarantee 4 years.
Agreed, but there's a reason why he's asking for a 4 year, and I think that's probably stability, so there must be something there that offers some stability, rather than the board just deciding they don't see his performance. And I'm just trying to look at it from other cities or areas we know. I know Sebring's city managers in his 23rd year of 1-year contracts. It's just, to me, it's an unusual request, and it puts us at risk. I'm not comfortable with that. I can talk about alternatives, but that's just one of the issues I'm not comfortable with.
I, on the other hand, am very comfortable with it because we have so much on our plate. And he has all the background and he knows where everything goes. And I think that with everything that we have on our plate, to lock him in for 4 years is to our advantage, to Sun and Lake's advantage.
Just a minute. Are you done?
I am.
Okay. Okay, now you. Sorry.
What I just said.
It's your turn, Beverly.
And I just look at all the things that we have on our agenda and all the things that he's accomplished and what he can accomplish, and locking him in for 4 years, I think is a no-brainer.
Okay, John.
I'm very uncomfortable with the contract. I was shocked beyond belief when I read it. I think it's excessive in every category, and I'm offended by it. As a state employee, we're not getting a raise this year, and when I see people getting raises in excess of this, is outrageous to me, and I do not support this at all. And I do not support a 4-year contract. I do not support the excessive raise and all the excessive benefits. And we're talking about if we want to terminate him, we can, yes, but we have to pay him 6 months termination.
That one is for cause.
Well, that's my opinion. And no, I do not support this at all or anywhere near this. This is, to me, we talked about last meeting, we were going to give employees 2.5% cost of living raises. And then we come in here and we're looking at, if you add up everything, maybe 40%. This is outrageous. And the people here that pay the taxes that pay for this are not getting what they're paying, in my opinion. And that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you, John. I guess I'm last. I just will say that I certainly would like to, sounds to me like, in my opinion, I'd like to have a more discussion and more, because I'm not happy at all with this either. So just so you know that. I'm thinking more about having Supervisor Norton going with Boz and maybe talking to Garrett and redoing this and bringing it back in front of us. Because it sounds to me like we're not, if we voted on it today, it would be a no. So like, is that possible, Garrett?
Yeah, so the board can take any action it wants. If it wants to designate another supervisor to negotiate with boss, it's certainly appropriate if it's what the board votes to do. And I'm happy to be a part of the conversation to try to make sure the language of the contract is appropriate.
Yeah, well, your part of this is to make sure that everything that we do give Boz is legal.
Certainly.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, but that would be my opinion. I guess we'd have to have a consensus or a vote if that's what,
Yeah, you could call for a vote, but a consensus would be the same thing. The only, just not a legal issue, but a practical issue, it may be helpful to, amongst the folks on the board who are all here today at this notice public meeting where we can all talk and discuss
yes,
the terms, if there was some, in designating any of the supervisors to negotiate with boss, if there can be some direction given as to what the board's looking for. Because what I'd like to avoid is creep. Or moving the goalposts where at this meeting we have these issues and at the next meeting we have this other issue that we didn't touch on in the first meeting. So now we have to go back to the drawing board. And I think it'd probably be most appropriate for the board to have some direction
Okay.
after designating someone to negotiate.
okay, and is Boz will still be covered, right? As we go on during this time?
He took his office, or not his office, his position rather, July 23rd, I believe, 2023, Boz. So, the effective date of the contract, I believe, runs to that date. It's July 1st. You're not going to meet until August 5th. There may need to be some motion to extend the current deal, at least to, that meeting date or beyond. And if there's any concern, well, what if we come up with a new agreement August 5th or whatever, you can always make any increases retroactive, which, based on what the board decides, that would be legally appropriate as well.
So what would you recommend first that we do? Extend, make sure that he's extended first?
Well, he would have to agree to that,
Okay,
obviously.
well,
You might want to talk to him about that. But as long as he agrees to that, you can make that motion. And then if you want to designate someone new to negotiate with him, that would be probably step 2. And then discussion tune from the board on direction to that individual and what sort of they're looking for.
Boz, would you agree with that?
I'm a straight talker. I signed a contract with this district on 29 May 2023. In discussion with the board at that time, you all gave me 60 days to extract from my job and to come here unpaid. I was fully accepting of that. So in my mind, while I started 23 July, physically present here, my contract ended 29 of May of this year. So I am now, in my opinion, not an official general manager. And however long we postpone this, unless you do an extension, I will hold firm that my start date needs to be 29 May 2025. Because that's my contract. I want a clean line. I don't want to show any gaps in service. That's just the way I operate. I'm sorry.
So I didn't understand his answer, but yes or no?
The motion to extend, it sounds like he wants there to be a clear sort of path from the date the contract was accepted. So you could make a motion to extend his existing agreement from May 30th, 2025 until, whatever date certain in the future to accommodate that. Of course, he'll have to.
If he agrees with it.
Yeah, it'll just be an addendum that it'll take me 5 minutes to draft today. I can do it in literally 5 minutes. So we could do that if he agrees to it. And that would, buy you the month you need to find these terms. So.
Before we even get that far, is Boz willing to have a further discussion?
That's what I ask is,
Sure. Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. So I think I need a motion first.
I want to discuss it.
Okay,
I just can't believe what you guys are saying. In the 2 years that he has been here, he has done more for this district than has ever been done. He has improved the reserves by exponential. He could be paid the next 10 years on what he's already brought to this community with what I just proposed. To think that we don't want him as a general manager, I find very, very offensive. He has brought this, we are so much farther along than this district has ever been. And to lose that ability to have that type of leadership and not let him continue on, I think I just don't understand where you guys are coming from. I really don't. There is nothing that he has done that is offensive. If anything, it's just everything's the opposite of that.
Anybody else has anything to say?
I think asking for these benefits and this increase is offensive. I think it's outrageous. That's my opinion. So we disagree on this 100%.
Okay, can we have, is everybody done? Can we have a motion on trying to extend Baz's contract?
I move that we extend the general manager's contract from May 30th for 31 days. So we can renegotiate another contract.
I think if you made it a date certain, that might be a little easier. The next meeting date where you would consider his agreement would be August 5th. You may even want to put it out to August 31st so that we have time to get everything signed up. And if the board agrees to a new agreement at the next meeting, it'll just replace the existing agreement. It's not like he gets paid double or anything like that. So I think August 31st would be a good.
Do you want to change your motion?
I changed my motion to the August 31st,
Do we have a second?
2025.
I have a question on that. She said
Can
August 31st.
Can you second the motion before we discuss?
Didn't you change the motion though, based on the answer?
Yeah, but if you second it, then we can.
Second.
Okay,
So
now that,
I think I forgot my question.
okay,
So she said August 31st.
I did.
I have something really important to say before that. So when we agree on a contract, that's the thing. We want to say it retroactive to the 23rd or the 30th of May.
Yeah, and that'll be up to the board when you approve the contract. If it's the desire of the board to make it retroactive to any date, that language will go into the agreement. So
Because I think that's important that he starts on his start date with a new package, if you will.
sure,
Yeah.
certainly, yeah. So that even though this motion is being made in the original agreement, we're going to do an addendum to extend it to that date per Vaz's request. Then certainly you can make any new agreement retroactive as the board sees appropriate.
Okay.
so we have a motion and a second. Do we need a vote?
You do, if there's
Should
no,
I ask for public comment?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, is there any public comment?
Numbers I'm not too good at, I don't know, but I would really want to keep him here and give him his health insurance like every other CEO and every other, general manager in the state has. And, just keep him here, don't let him go, because he's a huge asset, and he does a lot for the community. And it's not just his job, it's his life. And I think I speak for most of us, he's an amazing person, and he's always there for us.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good morning. My name is Bill Norcross, resident for 21 years, and I played down here 45 years ago. So I know a little bit about politics and the whole thing here. And from what I understand, that there's some kind of delay in the contractual agreement with Boz. And I think it's not a good idea. I think it should be taken care of. It should have been taken care of back in May when his contractual time is up. I've noticed the difference in the district, the militarization of the district, which is I'm familiar with, which is great. We have flags, we have TVs, we have so much more going for us in Sun Lake, and I think it's all under the supervision of Mr. Boss. I really appreciate what he's done here, and I hope he continues without a question, because I think he's. I not always agree with everybody, but I think in this situation, he's a gentleman we cannot even think about having a problem with a contract. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else? Can you speak into it a little better? Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Yeah.
And you got to speak.
Could you see if that green button is on that?
It's hard to hear.
I know.
There you
Yeah.
go, thank you.
Kim Ledoux, 2831. I want to commend Buzz for everything that he's done. I've been here about a year and a half, but I really and truly support everything he's done. He's brought a lot to this community, as other people have said, as I'm not going to belabor that point. One question I have is, and it's probably in record somewhere, it's public knowledge, but what is his salary now? This shows the salary that you're proposing. What's the salary now?
He makes $155,000 right now.
So I do have to agree with the three board members in some respects that it appears that the increase in its entirety with all of the elements of this contract seem to be quite generous. And but I totally support Boz. I don't want to see him leave. So whatever we need to do to bring this to closure, I would say as soon as possible. I agree that I think it should have been done in May, when he deserved it to be done. At this point, I'd say I would even move that you do it by July 31st instead of August, just to make this happen a lot quicker for him. But it sounds like there needs to be some negotiation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Randy Bauer, 5223 Savona. I said to myself, I'm not going to come up and talk anymore because I don't do very well. But this is crazy. I mean, you three people that want to reduce or not give Boz what he's worth. Do you have any idea how hard it is to find a general manager that works as well as he does? Have any of you looked around to see what a good general manager is going to cost you? And what it costs you to have a not so good one? I mean, we vote for you guys, or don't vote for you, to put you in charge of us. And put you in charge of the general manager. We got a good general manager. And I guarantee you, like the gentleman just said, he will go somewhere else. Because there's a lot of areas that want him. Because they know how hard it is to find a good general manager. Aren't we moving in a good direction? I think we are, and I've had disagreements with Boz over the golf course, lots of them. But you know what? He's making it work without spending a lot of money on the golf course, which the three of you didn't want. So now you want a general manager for free? I don't know what you guys want. I really don't. But I think you three really ought to look to see where we're headed with the general manager that's not so good. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I haven't been active in these meetings for a year or so because of health problems. But prior to that, I tried to attend very regularly, and I was here during a period where the contract was originally instituted. And my first impressions during the course of that 6 months thereafter to a year was I was just quite impressed with the fact that we had a take charge guy that had come in, knew what he was doing, explained it well. And you don't see that quite often. I came up through the corporate ranks at Motorola, and you look for those type of individuals that would sit there and take the organization in kinds of directions that, which really required a lot of change. Things aren't going well, you make a move, you want somebody to be a benevolent dictator, as I sometimes say. It's going to come in and do the right things and report his actions. I'm astounded kind of coming in late to this meeting. I heard this and I said, I can't even speak to it because I just never seen a situation where we treated a decent high-level manager in an open forum the way that firms talk here. So I'm behind the gentleman. I haven't gone through or looked at the contract. I hired people at all different levels, and I agree. At that kind of salary, it's hard to find somebody that does all the right things. I would hope somebody thinks it and looks, I'll look a little bit more myself because I don't understand what the questions are, I guess. So, by the way, Paul Pelski, 5568 Matanzas.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah.
Showing up. Deborah Fischetti, Manor Drive. I've been here through Tanya, through Dan, and then we got Boz. After 48 years in higher education, I know what leaders are like. I know what we need in this community as a leader, and he's sitting right over there. Let's not jeopardize that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? There was one left.
3011 Sunrise Drive. So I agree. Everyone's agreed. Boz is amazing. I've been here in the neighborhood 5 years, and it wasn't really until he came here that I recognized what this community could be. What I'm a little irritated with hearing is that we're comparing it what it is to what it could be instead of what he's giving us. So do we take that number and realize what he's worth, not just what he's been getting? So you're taking what it is to what it should be, or what you're proposing it to be instead of what should it be. Sounds like for 2 years he didn't get anything, if I heard that right. So you're kind of, that number today sounds large because it would have been a gradual had you approved an increase a year ago and then 2 years ago and today. So today's number sounds large, but it's because you're correcting, if that's how you guys were phrasing it, from the last 2 years. And if everyone agrees he deserved it, I agree he deserved it, what he's putting in this community. And we're getting a lot of new residents. I don't think we're going to that's going to offset a lot of those increases that you guys are worried about paying him.
Thank you. Round two.
I just want to say, I don't went to it for under 55. Okay, so I do agree with his.
Anyone else? Okay.
One.
Oh,
You need to understand also, if you go out on the market again, you're not going to find somebody that has their own health insurance. You're going to add 50% at least cost to that individual. So if you go out and think that you're going to hire somebody for $150,000, the total cost is going to be $225,000 minimum. That healthcare cost is extreme. We're just talking about vision and dental for him, not everything. So I'm telling you, this is not a bad contract. And you need to, you're not going to find somebody out there in the market. Couldn't. He was the only qualified individual through a headhunter 2 years ago when we went searching, 2.5 years ago now. Only one that had the qualifications. And that was through a qualified headhunter.
It cost us money.
Okay, any other comments? Thank you, everyone. Any other comments from the board?
I think that it's very important to realize that during this, it seems like a big jump, but he slipped through the crack on 3% and then 5%, and that's why it's a large number now. Oops, sorry.
Anybody else? The only thing I can say is, because I don't want to get this in negotiating out here, but I have checked into what people make in the area and people our size, and I think we pay Boz very well, and I don't think anybody up here wants to say Boz isn't doing his job. And I don't want to go into all the stuff because there's no sense in it. The board decides this, and I think if they've done their diligence, they know what the manager of Sebring makes and the manager of Avon Park makes with their health thing. And I'm happy and proud that we pay Boz what we do. But again, I'm not going to negotiate this. We have a motion and a second, and if we want to have somebody else do it, we do it. If not, so.
So this motion is just
Just an
to
extension.
offer an addendum to BOS from May 30th of this year
Yes.
to August 31st
That's
of this
all.
year.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
and
what
then-
this one is.
And then there will be subsequent discussion motions.
So we have a motion. Okay,
Well, excuse,
okay,
I think
go ahead.
I have a voice here. You know?
Yes, you do. You got quite a one. Go ahead.
I was just going to recommend that we move it to September 5th, the extension, because that's the next time we would have a meeting. I think it's September 5th. It might be something different. Whatever our next September meeting is.
On my calendar, I have the 9th. Sound right?
Yes, sir, because it was a holiday weekend, so we moved it the following Tuesday.
I think Labor Day is that Monday, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm actually going to pull up the meeting schedule online. Yeah, that would be appropriate as well. August 31st was just me throwing out a date, but if you want to capture at least 2 meetings, that would be an appropriate date.
Okay.
What's your pleasure?
I would like to move it to September the 9th,
Okay,
2025.
and do we need another second? Okay. Need a-
Yes, sure.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to extend this till September 9th. We need a roll call.
Supervisor McLaughlin,
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Norton,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
and President Gilpin.
Yes. Now we need a motion to have Supervisor Norton negotiate,
Yeah, if that's the pleasure of the board.
if that's what we want.
So I have a question before we go that far. Question is, you mentioned that we ought to have like kind of one voice when I talk to Boz. How do we accomplish that?
So the tricky thing, and I know there were some comments from members of the public regarding, making sort of the points the board was making in an open forum. But unfortunately, under Florida law, that's the only way for you all to discuss this matter is in an open notice public meeting. So if there is a new designee, or if there's, a continuation of the current designee to negotiate the deal, it would be appropriate for you all to give some direction. This is the salary range I'm thinking, or this is the benefit change I'm thinking, or, let's phase in the salary change over the length of the contract, or, if the term of the contract's 4 years and that's something you don't like, make it a 2-year deal with an automatic 2-year renewal subject to board approval, then. So there's lots of different ways you can do it, right? But just some guidance so that we're not here the next meeting saying, well, I still think this or this is, out of whack. So.
Okay, I would like, maybe go with the 2-year and then the 2-year renewal. If we're satisfied with it, I would like, I think the 401k progression is a little steep, so we could back that down a little bit. I have no problem with vision and dental. And I think he deserves the 3 and the 5% that fell through the cracks. Automatic.
Yeah, well,
And
you've
then
hit-
on top
yeah,
of,
You've hit 2 of the issues I've had, so we're on the same page there. The vacation going from 4 weeks to 6 weeks. Again, I don't think he even uses 4 weeks, so I'm not sure why the request. was
I
6.
know.
So anyway, I'd like to discuss that as part of my conversation if I'm the one doing it.
John,
Yeah, I think what have caught me off guard was, we talked about last meeting, 2.5% everybody, and then all of a sudden we got this big jump in all categories. And I think we should be a little more consistent, and 2 weeks vacation to 4 weeks to 6 weeks is just a little bit much. And that's what got me. And then I started looking at the other things. And then I started looking at the other general managers in the area salaries, and we're already way above where they are. Then when you add up all these other things, it just seemed like too much too soon. And I'm okay with the job he's doing. I'm just not okay with the jump in the pay. And I can tell you, nobody at the college is getting a raise. That's probably the biggest employer in the area. And nobody there is getting a raise because they are getting a new insurance policy.
So they are getting some benefits.
They are getting new insurance that the college is paying for. But as far as a salary increase, nothing. Of course, the vacation schedule is 2 weeks. And so when you add up everything in this package, it's just a little bit too much, too quick.
I would like to add something else.
Yes,
You
go ahead, Beverly.
keep comparing to Avon Park, Avon Park is not comparable to Sun and Lake because they are not selling 300 lots and 500 lots. They are status quo. And the same thing with Lake Placid, although it's a very beautiful place. I don't know how you can compare that salary to what we're doing because we are a growing, working community and we are going forward. We're not stagnant. And I think that not only is Boz great, the team that he has brought in here and trained is above anything we've ever had. And I have been here 28 years. So I have seen what we've done and I've seen what we haven't done. And I think you need to take that in consideration. I mean, Boz brought enough money into our bottom line that we could pay him for out of that, our reserves. And
Anybody
while
else?
I do think that my recommendation, could take what we did. I'd stand by that. But again, let's remember what we're getting. Let's don't compare us to Avon Park, Sebring, or Lake Placid. we're not that. We are a growing community.
Anybody else? Hey, the only thing I can add from what you said, Greg and Beverly, John, is take a look at the 120-day pay if he gets let go. That's almost a half a year's pay.
State law, sir.
Well, just to provide some clarity on that, I think the existing agreement provides for 14 weeks, and this new agreement brings it up to what the state has capped severance pay at, which is 20
That's the
weeks.
cap, right,
Yeah.
of the state, the most we can get. Okay, that's what I thought.
But it is quite standard to see that in most general managers' agreements. I think if you look around, you'll see that. So I think that's what Boz was referring to.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Okay,
Miles and I get together at the end of 30 minutes. We're cleaning glasses because we've agreed on what I think will pass the board. Bring it to the board passes it.
Can you bring it to the board before our meeting so we can look at it?
Oh, sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
don't,
just like we
don't
did
give
here.
it to us.
Yeah, as soon as there's a draft that's been worked out, I'll circulate it. And then if you guys want to call me to let me know what you think, I could sort of gauge. And if they need to re-engage, I can tell them to re-engage. If not, then we'll just put it on the agenda.
My point is, we don't have to wait till the September 9th meeting to vote for this.
Oh, no.
The next meeting is August 5th, so then you can vote. Yeah, vote on it. It'll just replace the bridge that you've just voted on.
Can't,
anybody else? Okay, Jacqueline,
Oh, is there a motion?
I thought we had one in a second.
What's the motion?
did we extend the contract?
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's done.
that,
That's
this,
already done.
this is to have a supervisor,
Does that need to be a motion?
It could be consensus or a motion. I think the board president's asking for a motion, so
Okay.
that's fine.
Motion to appoint Greg.
okay, do we have a second? I'll step down and second the motion. Okay? Okay, Jacqueline?
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Norton,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips.
Yes.
Supervisor McLaughlin,
Yes.
and President Gilpin.
Yes.
All right, so I'll work with Supervisor Norton and we'll get that squared away.
Okay. Okay, the next item is to approve Resolution 2505-08 of Sun and Lake Receiving Improvement District located in Highlands County, Florida, relating to the district operation and maintenance expenses and the provision of district services, facilities, and programs, providing for the funding of such expenses and services through the imposition and collection of annual non-ad valorem special assessments, estimating the portion of the annual cost of providing such services to be funded by the district, directing preparation of assessment roll for such fiscal year, establishing a public hearing to consider approval and assessment rates for such fiscal year. Is there any public comment?
Want to discuss the process here?
Go ahead.
So part of us joining the county with the collection through the uniform method, there's some administrative requirements that we have to do. First is this resolution, which is the board directing staff to give a range of potential increase, and that's the up to 5%, that we then notify individually every member, like you get your taxes notification. We will now, after this meeting, send a letter out to every parcel owner stating that this year the board is entertaining an increase up to 5%. That's just the language of it. If you have an issue with that or a concern with that, please show up at the following meetings. and that's per this discussion here. So it's basically putting everyone on notice that there will be an increase up to a number, but it could be zero. It's going to say 0 to 5%, and everyone gets notified on that. And that's just the requirement for doing the county collection. Once we get that, we come back, we have a public hearing about that, specifically on the assessment. Then the board will agree to whatever the assessment for that year is set. You all set the assessment after the public hearing. The only additional input into that meeting is prior to that meeting, which is we're right now looking at 19 August. We will be collecting anyone that has a concern that wants to appeal the assessment, just like we do annually. And at the 19th August meeting, there'll be a public hearing. There'll be an individuals appealing. And then after that, adjudication is done by the board. So you all will hear those appeals. You all will set the tax rate or the assessment rate. And then we approve resolution number 2, which is the assessment for the year 2025. And then we send the tax roll to the tax collector. If we don't do it in that step process, you all could approve a assessment. Individuals then will get bills in October. They may say, I want to appeal this. And then we're issuing a bunch of refunds potentially. We're trying to avoid that. Trying to bring the assessment appeals prior or right at the same time you all set the assessment. So this resolution is basically establishing that timeline so we can get the right notices out, get the letters out to the citizens. So at the 5 August meeting, there'll be, other than some public comment, no necessary reason to discuss the assessments. We're needing to check your schedules because that 19th is a discussion we're offering. At the 19th is when we would have another very specific board meeting discussing assessments for the public hearing. We need to check y'all's calendars if that's acceptable, and we can adjust that now because we haven't put the notices out. And then we'll get all that business done, approve resolution number 2, and then we're good for the year. Doing it this year gives us the ability next year and the year after to avoid the mail-outs. We do not need to do those every year because we're putting all the residents on notice that there's a potential increase over a period of time, an indefinite period of time, and up to 5%. And it just saves the district about $60,000 in mailing moving forward. But we have to do it the first year we're doing the uniform collection method. So that's what we're asking for here is resolution number 1 to be approved. And then we get the ball rolling on the, and then confirming that date with y'all's calendars. We don't need to set it now if you need to go look at calendars. It's just before we send the notices out, I just need the information back on when you guys can meet in August. But it has to be after the 5th meeting because that gives the residents enough time to receive a letter, ask any questions, submit an appeal, that type of stuff.
Okay. Any public comment? Anybody from here? Any supervisor comment?
Just
Okay,
if we could figure out precisely, and just to clarify, I believe the copy of the resolution you all have, the proposed assessment schedule, I believe it looks back a couple fiscal years. It also looks forward, and I believe it might provide for like a 3% increase or an up to 3% increase. We, in consultation with Chris Rowe, who is the district's assessment specialist who prepared this resolution and is guiding the district through some of the technical aspects of this, recommended that the district notice the residents for the maximum assessment that the board would consider levying, up to 5%, to essentially put them on notice of the full potential of what you all could do. So it could be a 0% increase, it could be status quo, it could be up to 5%. So in the resolution that we've sort of tinkered with yesterday, the fee schedule just provides for the fiscal year 25-26 rate at a 5% increase. And the way the resolution's drafted is that you all are approving the preliminary assessment rate now, which is up to a 5% increase based on what it was last year. That way, it provides you with a full menu of options at the public hearing to consider any increase up to 5%. So that's what Boz laid out more or less. I just wanted to let you all know when these mailers go out and you see that it provides for the 5% increase on the mailers, that just gives you the option to go up to that amount. But of course, you can do status quo or up to 5%. So that's just wanted to clarify that. The other thing it would be helpful to have some certainty on the public hearing date now. And if we need to take a short recess just to check calendars, I think that would be appropriate. The reason why, and as Chris Rowe pointed out to me, which I knew, but he, again, wanted me to tell you all that the timing of these mailers is very important, that the state law requires that they go out at least 20 days before the public hearing date. And we have a lot of mailers that need to go out between now and 20 days before any proposed date. So that's why Chris recommended pushing the public hearing from the August 5th meeting to some later date in August. And we centered on the 19th as being an appropriate date. He also anticipates there may be more folks that come out to the meeting, and it also incorporates your appeal process as well. So having it as a standalone meeting, particularly on year one, might be a good idea to sort of mitigate those factors. He's also going to be present at the meeting. So if you guys have any technical questions or to sort of take questions that are directed at you that he can take off from you guys with his expertise, he's going to make himself available. So I want to let him know as soon as advanced as possible the date of the meeting.
Okay. I think we should try to get the date set first, I think.
Yeah.
And when I got the packet, I talked to Boz yesterday. I don't know if the rest of them, but I'm free any day of the 5th that week. So I don't know if you guys have looked on those dates.
The 19th is a Tuesday. It's the
The 19th
third
is
Tuesday of
Yeah.
August.
I'm good with the 19th.
How about you, John?
Yes.
Hey, Craig?
I can't say. But I can say by noon today.
Yeah, it's an evening meeting, 5:30 meeting. In most jurisdictions have a separate meeting for their imposition. So this isn't anything new, but yeah, if as long as we have a quorum, which it sounds like we have for the 19th, then that's what our office would recommend, to give the district plenty of leeway in getting these mailers
It's
out.
a 5 o'clock meeting at night?
It'd be a 5:30.
5:30?
Yeah,
Here or?
We'll do it here.
yes.
Okay, is there anything else we need to?
The products in your packet, just for clarity, this was the one slide that's in front of you now. There are six categories that, based on the review by Mr. Rowe, Attorney Rowe, his expertise there, these are the categories that we as a district will be eliminating based on non-use or just a lot of double speak in language. So comes from mostly, obviously, single-family homes and unimproved lots, and a little bit from multifamily and everything else. All the rest are one-offs. So that's the start product. The second product, this will be less some of the columns that Garrett referred to. This will be what's included in our final resolution. We have new category list. We dropped down to 25 categories. We address how many are in government status and district owned. So you all are aware that we track that every year. They are exempt, but it gives us the ability to track those. And then it shows the biggest ongoing questions every year I get is how much is Advent pay? How much is the school and all that type of stuff. So we included those on there. It's not hidden anywhere. It shows you what Tanglewood pays and what Advent pays, and then everyone else what they pay. So this will be the clean product that goes into the resolution, but we'll get rid of the categories of the percentages, because you guys will tell us what the percentage will be, and we'll get rid of the historical numbers of 2023, 2024. I'm giving that to you for your situation where it is, so you can see how we've gone up. We went up 5% in 2023, we went up 5% in 2024, and this year is up to you all. So those are the products included, and that'll be part of the resolution that goes out. But the mailer you have will specify the language of the date, will specify the actual increase in dollars per your parcel. It'll be very clear to a resident, you pay this now, and there's a potential of going up to this number. They'll see the range, and that's what we're producing right now in finance, all that very specific language for every parcel. And right now it's about 11,000 mailers we have to send out. So that, to Garrett's point, it'd be nice to have a little bit of buffer in there so we can get those mailers out. So other than, unless there's questions on the products in here, I think we just need the resolution, after public comment, the resolution approved and take it from there.
I'll ask again, any other public comment? Okay. We need a motion, I guess.
Second.
Supervisor Norton,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor McLaughlin,
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick, and President Gilpin.
Yes. Okay,
All right.
motion,
Thank you much.
motion to approve the district water quality report for 2024.
This is cut and dry. Annually, we do it. We have a third party that does our district water quality assessment. This is already posted, and there's hard copies going out in everyone's water bills this month. So nothing out of the norm. There is a sentence in there, and if you read to the bottom, it says the district did not meet its 2024 specific one test. For clarification there, the testing agency was off by a week. So the test they did wasn't in December, it was January 1st. But it was tested for what we needed. So that's why I wanted them to put that in there, because I could not look a resident in the eye and say, we tested in 2024. We tested in the first week of January. But we found that out after the testing company got bought out, changed, they dropped the ball, we contacted them, they did an immediate test, and we were all within all the right parameters. So I'm not worried about the quality report. But that's in there, so residents full transparency on that part. No issues with our water quality. There is some, there'll be a future discussion when it comes to irrigation water quality from our other wells. I'll talk about that separately. But for drinking quality, our water is some of the best around, with the low odor issues that a lot of municipalities have to deal with. So just need a vote on approving this so we can put it in the archives and take it from there.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor McLaughlin,
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick, Supervisor Norton,
Yes.
and President Gilpin.
Yes. Okay, discussion on the 2026 budget.
All right, so included in there is basically about a third of the products that we have in our annual budget book. We don't need to discuss each slide. I'm just going to scan through them for the general reference. These are posted online as well, and give you an update where we stand budgetarily. So we had our final meeting with departments yesterday. There's no substantial changes. There was some language or some number changes based on what we got from insurance, what we got from county, very minimal. So there's some slight tweaks to the departmental budgets that's in your packets, all those long sheets. So we'll scan through this. So this obviously will be, this is a living document. So there may be a number here. That's a number that's not in your book. That's a number that's posted because until you guys tell me this is the assessment, this is what our county taxes, then I can lock down everything. So we may be off a few dollars here and there until we get the final from everybody. My assessment right now went up about a percentage, went from a B to a B plus in how we executed our 20 or are prepared for this. And it was mainly in our continuing efforts to make the final product more user-friendly and visually understandable. You'll see that in the budget books we produce. We're still going to take it up one more level, but as for budget execution, project accomplishment, I think we're in a very good place as a district, and with the right oversight controls. You guys see the numbers every month. We can talk about them every month across all the departments, so we're doing pretty well there. And we're reporting from the departments all the way up through me and then reporting to you. So I'm very comfortable with that. So pretty good place to be in as a B plus in the budget world until we refine that. Budget assumptions, just want to highlight in red some issues. This is straight out of our policy book. We adhere to all these. The two in red that are more recent upgrades is that because our fund balances, our total annual budget has crept up to about $15+ million in totality, we went from needing 2.5 million in our reserves to closer to 3 million. So as we move forward, just understand that I'll be approaching the board to be able to bring some of the excess funds to get our bank account of district emergency reserves closer to a $3 million number. That's the state statute. 17% of our fund balances should be in an account to prevent any default. So just a few $100,000 uptick. We have the money. We just need to allocate it appropriately. And then at the very bottom, right now we've been told from the county that the tax assessor is taking everyone's parcels up 8% or higher based on valuations across the county. So the tax assessor is doing that. And right now, the first cut at the county budget is close to a mill increase in county taxes. So just understand that's coming from our county friends. Fire, a few dollars uptick. The waste, a few dollars uptick. But we're getting that feedback from the county, and there's a meeting next week that we'll be attending, as well as a few future meetings at the county level to get a firmer number on that. And we're using the state or the federal numbers of inflation costs, which is kind of dipping down, averaging in the 3.5%. And that's tied to COLA as well as just general inflation. So those are the assumptions, planning factors going into this, but the ones in red are just more recent updates based on our numbers. You all are aware of what we put out in March to not only the district, but to all departments. So I'll scan through those. This is basically the guidance given to departments to try to keep their budgets in line with our understanding of how much money we think we're getting, how much money we're collecting, how much money we're saving, how many grants we're getting, as well as what we don't want to spend in certain categories, how many new staff we want to hire, and so on and so forth. So nothing changed from this. What you'll see in the product is this is what I set conditions for them in March. You'll see as we did the budgeting, some of these were just either not achievable or we didn't achieve it to the level we wanted to. And you'll see that with some of the numbers of staff. We didn't hire as many because I told them to reel back, we're not going to hire X, Y, stuff like that. So you'll see, you'll be able to compare what was the guidance compared to what we executed. And this product also is online in the budget finance area of our district website. I won't belabor that point. Very cursory snapshot. When it comes to the budget, these are the areas in red. We basically address the entirety of the district on projects across the district. There is no focused area. There is no pet project. There is no, we just do the district. We just do Manor Hill. We just do Deer Run. We do the totality of the district, and all our projects are tied to that. So this is just the bigger projects, but as you well know, there's a lot of minor projects throughout the district, and that's just a good way to see where we're spending our money. Leadership, and this was filled today, so the operations director's on board. His first day, he's getting training across the street. So we have all the directors filled. These are the dates. I'll have Jacqueline get with you all to make sure I'm tracking the right term, you all's terms, make sure that's captured appropriately. And that's just for situation awareness for our residents to see how longevity is in our staff as well as our board. This is the staff in totality, and this is the district side, not the golf side. Golf is 100 plus folks under Mike. Mike's here, Jimmy's here. I'm not counting those 100 plus folks, otherwise it would be an unmanageable product. So this is the district side. The ones in red are either been hired or in the process of being hired, and those gaps will be filled in this year. It's not really next year's budget. This is as we fill, and this is what was approved already. So it's a good position to be in. The only true vacancy, and this was a direction that the board gave me upon my hiring, was we need to build some a bench, build some longevity, build some depth. That there needs to be someone that if the GM incapacitated or departs, there's someone that could come and take the job as an assistant general manager. Not funded, no one's on the bench for that, but that's the only position in totality that we would be seeking in the future based on y'all's guidance to find that person to help with continuity planning for the district. You see there some stats. So in 2022, that was the number of district staff. It went up to right now, based on this budget, 68. Now that's a decent increase. That's no brainer. Up by 18% in totality in 5 years. But here's what happened. Based on budgetary guidance and so on, we were able to eliminate 2 major contractors, our financial contractor, our IT service contractor, and reduce that large expense to bring that capacity in-house, giving us immediate capacity under the thumb of the general manager to get products immediately. And that's where the cost savings offset was. So we brought in staff, we built an IT department, we fleshed out a one-person finance team to now 4 people. But now I'm able to tell you that if we wanted to cut the strings with Infomart, we could. If we wanted our finance and our HR department, I'm giving hypotheticals, to remove Troon, we could. So we're building the team, and that was based on y'all's guidance. Build the team that we could conduct operations as we see fit. So in trueness, we increased the staff by 18%, but in payroll, we only upticked by 9%. Because I was able to get rid of some very costly contract services that was just eating into our budget. And we traded that off with getting the staff in-house, just to explain that in better. For reading pleasure, that is the golf side of operations. So that's Mike and the team, our greenskeepers, our restaurant team, our pro shop. That's all the bodies that are over that side of the street in specific name capacity for running that operation. But the total number is in the 165 number that I consider our district employees that I supervise. Here, I would just focus on the bottom right corner. There's a lot of data there when it comes to what we own as a district, what we're responsible for, what we manage and monitor, from sewer to water to swales, all that interesting stuff. But on the bottom right is more an interesting comparison. Based on the stats we get from the state and from the feds, this year we'll be going into a district of close to 13,400 people. That's our number, and it's upticking all the time. You could put 2 of my sister friend cities together, and we beat them. Sebring is not there. Avon Park's not there. Lake Placid is about 1,500 people. We are the biggest municipality population density in Highlands County. Now, they will just grit their teeth to tell us that. Look, you and I say that, but that's a fact. And trust me, I poke them in the eye every time I meet them and say, understand that. We are the main players. Bring us to the table and understand that. 1,900 of our residents are out-of-staters, quote, snowbirds. Not a big population density. That number has trickled down immensely over the years because we have more and more that live here full time, year-round. A more interesting analysis is when the schools are open and the hospitals in full stride, there's 2,500 people that come here into Sun and Lake and work during the day on top of my 13,000 residents. And that may be, that doesn't impact you. It does. That's road wear and tear. That's services. That's utilities. That's extra water and toilets flushing, all that fun stuff for our services. So we need to understand that our capacity needs to be in the $15,000 to $20,000 range, or 20,000 population range, to support something like that. So that's the more interesting takeaway from that discussion there. Training is critical in the staff to prepare them to be the professional and relevant staff that you require and our residents deserve. So this is just some stats when it comes to that based on this budget. Going to throw about $65,000 into recurring training across all departments. You see the breakout there. You see a lot that happened in 2023. I will just basically say this was before my arrival. There was a lot of people going to training that wasn't really synchronized or coordinated. They were just, in my terminology, boondoggles. They went, we paid them, we did their thing. We've refined that. Now a director needs to advocate for their team to go to the proper training. It needs to show me the value added to the district and their position. And while the numbers may look like they're less, trust me, it's very focused training and we're getting value for our money. The staff is totally advocates for the training, and I will support training all day long, but I got to make sure at the end of the day there's value added to this district. So that's where we're focused on there. All right? No change in our mission. I only highlight the red. That's the only area that in future discussions that we need to have as a district that may be just a language we don't need in our mission statement. Because understand, mission statement needs to be down to the lowest level. Every staffer needs to know what the mission of this district is. So the more restrictive and the more confined, the more focused of a mission statement, easier for them to understand, ingrain into their DNA, and go forward with it. So I'll be recommending that in the near future. We just get rid of that, but everything else is good. Financially sound, provide protection, government services, recreational facilities. And no change to our district vision, organizational values, or goals. This is, again, is the mainstay of how we do our operations as well as execute our budget. It has to touch one of these values or goals, otherwise, why are we doing it? Why are we spending money? So no change there. And then based on the final budget, you'll have a sheet that lays out everything we're doing in our budget is either addressed by a value or a goal, and it'll be very specific under link that you'll see that we don't have a lot of fluff. It's tied to a value or a goal. This is an eye chart. This is really tied to when you do give me the final numbers, we're able to build out our 10-year strategic plan, and it addresses what we're spending money on, what we're going to gather money on at the very bottom of projects that we want to shift left and right to meet an end state of 10 years from now. This includes the wastewater plant and other projects in the bottom. Right now in 2026, this is a checklist that you all can keep in your pockets, have discussion with residents. Our budget will do this for residents in Sun and Lake in 2026. These are very specific. We will resurface 3.5 miles of roads. We will add 150 street light, whatever. It'll be very specific, so you can have that discussion with the resident, and they know where their money's going. It's not just in a nebulous big bucket, and we spend it willy-nilly. Be very specific target. And this list will grow as we refine the budget. This is what we were supposed to do in 2025. If it's yellow, we did it. We exceeded, we executed, we're done. If it's unhighlighted, it's either in the process or I will be telling you I need to move it to 2025 because we just couldn't get to it. Those are smaller projects at the bottom, throwing some money in here, throwing some 25,000 at the snack shack, doing a few more feet of roads and bike trails or sidewalks. Those were trying to happen over the summer, but they just may be overcome by events that I'll ask that we move those projects into 2026. So we still acknowledge them, but we just beyond our bandwidth to execute. But we've done a lot of our things that we said we would do last year. So that's a good report card for success of the district. Historical revenues, just so you know, starting in 2019, that's where it's upticked, started about 3.6 million in assessments. We're now about $5 million in assessments. That ain't because we're increasing every year exponentially. That's because there's a lot of new people coming and live here. If you tie that to our population, tie that to our housing stock, that's really where it's coming from. And then you see the other revenues. You see a general uptick of the restaurant. Less than $1 million in 2019. Now the restaurant's cranking out close to 1.9 million. Same with golf, upticking. The bottom line just shows when we get grants, FEMA, so it's going to always fluctuate like that. That's just other money. But everything's going in a general trend up. And the reality is when you sit back and look at it, it's not because we're knee-jerk always increasing rates. It's because we're building capacity, building residents, and so on. And the takeaway is the bottom there is there's been a massive increase or an 80% increase since 2000, but at the same time, cost of living has almost doubled to 96%. We've only increased our cost by 80%. So the district is taking a lot of stuff on its own.
I don't have it in front of me, but what was our assessment last year? Dollars that we got?
4.3 million was
Okay,
last
so,
year.
but 5% of 4 point some million is a substantial amount too.
Every percent's about $50,000.
Okay, so just so,
So
I know we're
250,000.
growing like heck, but
Yeah.
I mean, we've raised these rates.
Yeah.
I think like last 6 years, so.
This was just we talked about the assessments.
Okay.
Until you guys approve it, we'll lock it in. This is our total revenues in totality, $15 million, 0.2. Last year, 14.9. So only $300,000 increase in revenue. But that doesn't include all the ancillary money we get from FEMA grants or money we find throughout the year. This will be based on when the county locks in their budgets. You'll be able to see the glide path here. Here's the great takeaway is that the same time period, if you have a house in Sun and Lake, for that amount, you would pay $350,000 or $5,000 in county taxes. And in Sun and Lake, our millage is roughly in the 2 mills rate. If you do a comparison between what our assessment is compared to what the millage rate is. But everyone in Sun and Lake has to pay these. They have to pay the county, they have to pay the schools. Can't get out of that. But when it comes to some of the other things, like here, Sebring, Lake Placid, Avon Park, they're in the 17, 19 mills. Lake Placid is 16 mills, 16.5. This is last year. That's all going to go up. Sun and Lake, if you compare what you pay in an assessment, it's only about 2.5 mills. You can't beat that anywhere. The bottom left is what our totality of valuation in our district is. We just broke the $1 billion mark this year. So we ended last year with $900 million of value from everything, the hospital to all the houses. This year, just in 1 year, we broke $1 billion. So there's $1.1 billion worth of value in Sun and Lake, and it's growing. That's not even counting the 400 houses being built right now. So that's a great position to be in. To the right, in 25 years, if you owned a house in Sun and Lake, you paid the county about $300,000. In 25 years, you live in Sun and Lake, you paid the district about $43,000. And who do you think you're getting your services from? Sun and Lake. So that's a selling point that I beat realtors up, I beat the county up all the time, is that I may be paying you a buttload of money, county, 300 grand if I live here, but I'm paying Sun and Lake 40 grand and they're giving me everything I need, from water to roads to security to everything. A good place to be in for us. And then as the tax collector gets their numbers, we'll update the bottom numbers there. That is what we pay to all those services. So at the end of the day, we as a totality of Sun and Lake pays about $8 million to the county and the school system for services that they provide. We can argue all day long the value of those services. But to services that they provide, our residents pay about $8 million to the county. And as you see, to us, it's a lot less when it comes to assessments. Major revenue increases, we talked about all these. I won't go belabor these. The biggest ones, the two at the bottom, we got about $1 million coming in from FEMA and the county with some grants. And we got about 1.3 million coming in with new construction in this year. This is not the Horton Homes. This is fresh new construction next year. And that's that number is nowhere else in this county. Trust me on that one. Our anticipated revenue, we're going to gather 15.2 million. We have a lot we're going to end the year with, as well as rollover with our reserves. That's that 14.3 million. So we've had this discussion before. So when you add those two numbers together, the totality of our budget is about $29.5 million of revenue and reserves. That's a real good position to be in when it comes to reserves, as well as revenue coming in. And you see it slightly upticking as the years go on. This is the simplicity slide. We're going to put about 11 million into our reserves when we start the year off. You see there all your expenses. You see there where it's going. You see there what we're generating in all those enterprises. At the end of the year, we'll spend about $18 million. We'll have that 11 million, 10.9 million sitting in reserves. We'll end the year to the positive of 600K. We'll start 2027 about $11.5 million, and then the cycle repeats. Rinse and repeat all day long. What this does not account for is that top right corner, about 1.5 million in other money and $2 million specifically for our wastewater plant. And that's going straight into a reserve account. So it doesn't account for that. So there's $3.5 million in there that we're not even showing down here as a fenced off number. So that's, again, add that to the 11.5 million, and that's our true position starting 2027. Major expenses this year that we're being hit with. County healthcare program is taking a big hit. Direction to staff is find me another healthcare plan, because we just can't be tied to the county anymore when it comes to that. So the direction we're having some meetings with other insurance companies. We're seeing the ability to do that, and we'll bring to you a recommendation if we want to stay with them or go. Habitually or historically, every year they're upticking. Their pool of staff is a lot more self-financed and funded and drains a lot of the resources. Our pool does not. Our pool is staff that we don't use a lot of our healthcare expenses. So, but we're tied to them, so we get dragged into their cost increases. And right now, the county's closer to 10-15% increase this year. We're trying to mitigate that. I don't think insurance is going to be that high. It's probably going to be either 0 to 5%. We're having those discussions with the insurance and liability company. And then you see some of the other major expenses this year tied to our budget. Capital, you have a bigger sheet in your books, your binders there. Really, the two changes that I'll highlight is that in our discussion with the PGA visit, or the USGA visit, I'm sorry, their assessment as well as the Troon assessment of our Turtle Run and some other projects there. There are two projects that we are recommending we either try to front load, find a way to fund them, or try to do them earlier. And that's the Turtle Greens. So you'll see that as a change in there. That's down to the bottom of the golf clubhouse, 18 holes. And that's an in-house number right now. We're getting bids for out-of-house to bring that to you. if that's what you want to entertain for next year. And I think that was the big one. That was the only major one, shifted there. And then we added that we can get another about 2 years of life out of our turtle irrigation. That's about a 27-year-old system. It's a hydraulic system. We've replaced Deer Run years ago, and it worked out well. It's working well. But turtle irrigation needs to be touched in the near future. So starting in 2028, small bites, we'll do it in 3 years. We'll start replacing all the turtle irrigation to keep that system fully functional, and we don't lose the greens and lose the fairways over the future. So that's closer to $1 million, but we'll spread it out over 3 years because we can get some life out of that. Those are the two major differences from this product and the one that you were given back in June. Here's where our money comes from. Very simply, it says assessments, but that's everything in the district. That's assessments plus fees, penalties, code enforcement, so it's a bigger number. It's more than $5 million. So 33 cents of every dollar we get in the district comes from the general population. And then you see it very simplistic. 22 comes from our utility. If you add our golf operations, it's basically 29 cents of every dollar we get is based on the operations across the street. That's a big chunk of revenue from an enterprise that helps feed the machine of Sun and Lake. And then 15 cents, it's maybe a little bit an odd way to calculate it. 15 cents of every dollar we get was either from a capital project or a FEMA grant or something else, so it's other money. If you took that out, you could, then this would skew the numbers that we're pretty much equal across the spectrum. The district, the golf operations, and the utility all kind of feed each other. It's about a 33% mix. But this gives you an idea of where our money comes from. This is where our money goes for the same thing. So our big expenses are our utility, our golf operations. It should be more than golf course. It's golf operations, clubhouse, and all that stuff. And then our next two is capital improvements and road and drainage. And then everything else is in the far right there. You'll see smaller amounts when it comes to the permitting, our reserves, our building, our finance, our recreation. Smaller buckets of money, but that's the total expenses for the district from this budget cycle. To simplify just the assessments, the ask we always have is, where does my assessment money go? Here's your $5 million. You pay an assessment to the district. You can break it out this way. So from a guy that pays $190 for a vacant lot, all the way a person living on the golf course paying over $1,000, single family home, just break out the percentages. That's where your money goes for living in Sun and Lake. Everything from mosquito control, legal coverage, from making sure we're doing things right, our consultants, our engineers, our Troon and others, code enforcement, everything. And it's a very simple way to break it down for just the assessments. No money from assessments goes into permitting, no goes into utility, no goes into the golf and clubhouse operation. That's brought from other money, our additional money, our fees, our penalties, and so on. And then across all those entities, from our code enforcement, finance, there's a slice of that percentage that's payroll. If you get the totality of the payroll, 32% of our $15 million budget is to pay people, pay and benefits. That is an unheard of number for municipal governments. Usually municipal governments are 50% and higher. But I monitor that, working with HR and the directors, that we don't want to get in that position where we're unsustainable and we're a jobs program and not a services provider.
That's our job, not yours.
Sir, I'm in charge of the budget. I present to you, you approve the budget. That's how it works, sir. All right. How our district comparables, a lot of questions get asked about where do we sit with our friends, our neighbors. So we do this about every 3 months. We reach out to our comrades. We get comparables from our utility to our meters and so on. This gives you a snapshot in time that on the top is where it comes to the millage rate and taxes. And you'll see very quickly Sun and Lake. If you live in Sun and Lake, you'll pay about $900 for a single family home. You'll pay your taxes closer to the $4,000 range, and so on and so forth. We break it out that way. And you see that comparable across the other communities. All the way, if you lived in unincorporated Highlands County, Lake Ashton, it was the only similar entity like Sun and Lake with a golf course and a clubhouse and so on, amenities. So a lot more expensive to live there, obviously. But it gives you an idea where we set and where we need to assess and adjust our expenses. And then our water and our sewer rates, very comparable there when it comes to our comrades to our left and right. So we're pretty comfortable there. And then we also do that for our memberships. A great cost for a pool membership here. If you try to do it at the YMCA, you're paying $600, $1,000 for a family. And then so on for our golf fees and our golf membership and so on. And then we do the same for our restaurants, just so you know. We look at that comparable and we try to see, does Island View compare with our friends to our left and right in the community, just to get a sense of are we in the right market when we do these fees. And at the bottom are some administrative things.
The last two slides, I don't believe were in the packet.
Oh, okay, sir, we get those to you.
Yeah,
I
I didn't.
apologize. Yep.
Yep.
I'll send those out to you.
Thank you.
Okay. You have a copy of the membership fees. That'll be part of the discussion for members or fees and schedule. So we don't need to belabor that. And it goes to our fees and schedule here. The stuff in yellow is where we as staff are asking for a slight uptick, and it's just based on utilization. We are getting so much land clearing and so many issues with land clearing, re-inspections, cease works, make sure they're not tearing up the roads, that in these areas we need a little bit more uptick to charge the appropriate fees for those type of entities to include our connection fees. We haven't changed our connection fees for a new builder in many, many years. So we need to adjust that because the pipe's going up in price, our labor's going up in price. So a slight uptick when it comes to builders will be there to accommodate for that. It's not to make money, but it's for us to hopefully break even in some of those areas.
Does that cover our costs?
That new number covers our cost, 24 to 43, and then the boring went up just slightly. We still get a bulk rate on boring, but we do a lot of that for the water lines. And then same here across our, we are staff recommending that we reinstate the Racket Club membership at a reduced rate for our residents, but we also charge our non-residents. So we're going that route. And with the new pool, and we have some displays back here, with the new pool, we have the ability that the 5 existing cabanas are a free-for-all, show up, grab a cabana. The 6 new cabanas we are building, we're calling them deluxe cabanas, we're going to rent them. They're going to have a TV, they're going to have a refrigerator, and you're going to be able to rent them for the half day or a day. And that'll be a luxury area next to the new pool that if you want that amenity for your family to gather, it'll be an offering there, and that's our simple rates. You try to rent a cabana in any other resort, you are not paying $30 or $50 a day. We can do that because of just the way we're structuring our amenities out there. And that'll increase some revenue to our pool to offset the new cost of so on. And then with the wastewater, this is part of we're in year 3 of our rate increase that we got approved by the state. So this is a slight uptick when it comes to some of our utility and so on rates. And same with the float pump, new pumps. Pumps have gone through the roof. Most come from out of country. There's a lot of tariff issues there. So we're needing to capture the cost for a new pump. This is for if you either break one and we have to replace it, or a builder installing one. That's what we charge the builder. And that's for mostly the people that live north of Sun Lake Boulevard, not the people that are on the gravity system. Golf rates are separate discussion, so I won't go into that. Depends on when you guys set the membership rate. That all that stuff in yellow will change. We are not going to recommend any changes for the blank or the range that you approved last year, because we're able to account for the public play in that range and make money for the district. We don't need to change that range. We're very comfortable with that range. I think the only area right here is a league rate adjustment, but that was the only one that we saw a slight adjustment recommendation. But this will be part of your fee and fee schedule approval next month. And the only thing we did not add is the Granada Lake Banquet Hall rates will be different from these rates. You can rent those rates right now for the room, the dining room. Right now, we're going to continue those next year. But when the new banquet hall is fully functional, we will do an assessment. We'll bring to you a number of what the cost is to rent that new space. It's going to be more than that. I mean, the reality is the money we're putting in there. It's a much nicer space. It'll be adjusted appropriately. So we will add that rate as we get closer to the finished product. And that's, other than subject questions and direction from you all, that's the start point of our budget. That section where I ended is followed by all those departmental budget slides. And then there's a breakdown of our utility income and so on. So that really is the 30% of the budget book until you guys give us the final assessment and fee schedule approvals that will happen next month in August. subject to any questions.
Question.
Sir?
You mentioned 13,000 residents,
Yes, sir.
but on the website it says 900.
We got to fix that. IT, can you fix that?
Big difference.
It'll be fixed. Yes, sir.
It says in the paperwork you gave us, you're going to be all the budgets will be self-supporting. When does that take effect?
The only, in our charter, in our policy, the only entity that's self-sustaining is our golf operation. So it was written years ago in our charter. So starting 2023, that was a factual statement. It generates this, we spend this. You, as a board, has all prerogative to put additional money towards our enterprise accounts. But at the end of the day, when I look to my golf manager, that he needs to bring me a balanced budget that's not asking for more money. So that's part of our budgetary process, and I'll bring to you the final that we broke even, or if we're not, I'll say we need to move X amount of money over here.
So we still haven't gone to a separate budget for golf. We still have it included under recreation.
No, sir. So in your charts there, you'll have 3 breakouts of the departmental budgets for golf clubhouse, golf, and then golf administration. There's 3 separate sheets. So that's separate. And then if you look at the very front of your Excel sheets, there's a product that gives a summary of all the departmental budgets, and there's 3 line items for golf with a totality of, they produce about 5.1 million, they spend about 5.1 million. So it's break even. What we did this year based on your recommendation specifically was in our reserves line item, we have a golf reserve fund that we've created. So now it is segregated. And that starts on 1 October. If you look in the capital at the very bottom, it starts 1 October with $180,000 in that reserve account. And we funded that by the people that live on the course, pay for them, fund that account. So that is segregated. So I would bring to you a capital project, say it needs to come out of there. If that exceeds that ability, then I'll ask, can we take it from another reserve account if you desire? So it is separated, in my opinion. Yeah.
I think, John, what's confusing you again is capital. When the capital gets thrown into, we talk about it as golf course, and it's really capital. And that's confusing if you, I think it was for me for a while. Boss, when were we going to vote on these rates for the golf?
So we were gonna give you another month.
Okay.
We're fine with the numbers that are in that packet. And we're getting some citizen feedback. We're needing the golf membership discussion. But if in August we can approve the rates, then that's one thing done. And then we're going to approve in August 19th the assessments. And then we're done budget-wise. We can start putting together the book. Yep.
So all these projects that you got, when, you know, I'm not prepared to talk about it now, but I'd like to talk to it before we do the final contract. Is there would there be time for us to do that?
What do you mean by
Well, I meant
the
like
capital projects?
the stuff you have down for.
Capital projects.
Yeah, well, just capital mostly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss them whenever.
Okay.
That's part of the budget recommendation. So that, talking that one long slide right here.
Yeah, that's.
So
the
all
one
those
I'm-
projects that are incorporated into your 2026 budget, if you look on the summary slide, at the top is your revenue, at the middle is your expenses, at the bottom is your fund transfers and capital. That 2.6 million is in there for all your capital projects, and that $450,000 is your transferred into reserves. That's part of the budget. So if you're going to start redlining those as a board, you just need to tell us before the final approval, and those numbers start dropping and ticking down.
Yeah.
It won't change expenses, and it won't change the revenue. It'll change our bottom line of how much we end the year with or spend.
I think we need a new sheet because this is saying it's 2.1.
Okay.
2.2.
All right.
And that's going to be after the next meeting, August 5th?
If you want one more month to discuss capital, we can bring it up as a separate
Yeah,
agenda
I
item in
think
August?
I would
Or
like to do that,
July or August?
one way or the other.
Okay, so August 5th, you want to talk the specific capital
Yes.
project list?
Please.
Okay. Yep.
Does anybody have anything on these, want to talk about the proposed golf rates at all, or you want to just leave it till next month?
I had one question. I think the last meeting we talked about 10 or 12%. Now I see 8, 10, and 12. Did we
I
look
just
at
gave
that?
you a range, sir. The question came back of what do we generate at multiple ranges? When we did the public session with the golf members, about 35 showed up. The consensus there after we explained the need for X amount of revenue for the $15 rate and some projects there. We showed a 2%, we showed a 3% and a 4%. Once we explained that this would be if we did that this year, there'd be a bigger uptick because of the $15 thing next year. The discussion went to more than what's that number from staff? And that number was more 8 to 12. And that's what I showed you there. So it was really generated in discussion from the membership. The 12 came from a few members said we hit us now so we can move forward. It's really, but you guys can say 0%. We'll make it work. It won't be pretty, but we'll make it work. Staff is still holding fast to make it right and to pay the staff the $15 or close to it. It's a 10%. It has to be 10% because we didn't do anything last year.
10%.
Okay. Add-on items?
Any public comment on budget, or are we good, sir? You want to move forward?
I assumed everybody asked.
Okay.
Is there any more questions on the budget? Golf budget? Okay.
Okay. Nothing to add on, and no petitions or communications received.
Okay. Hey, Garrett.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. As you all know, unfortunately, I'll state it publicly. Our office submitted our 60-day notice of resignation of the general counsel role to the district yesterday afternoon. It's been a real pleasure to work for you all and work with Boz and the team here at the district for the past 18 months. I told you all one-on-one, the reason has nothing to do with the district. This is a fantastic government. You have incredible leadership team, staff. The residents here are very nice as well. So I look forward to working with Boz and the team on a transition over the next few months. I think the plan right now is to get with Boz by the end of this week with an outstanding list of outstanding items that we have, ongoing projects. There are a few projects that I'm sad I'm not going to get a chance to resolve for you all, but I want to make sure there's a plan in place and that we're doing everything we can to get everything teed up for the next team that comes in to be your general counsel. Part of that includes, Mr. President, as you had called me earlier this week to discuss, I'm going to make sure we have the golf charter on for the next agenda. I anticipate having that done within this week or early next week, and I'm going to circulate that with Boz to get his input. And then if you'd like, I can circulate it with the board so you all can take a look at it.
I'm sorry, what did you say? What kind of a charter?
The golf committee charter.
See, and that's where we get confused is when
The golf committee?
We-
The golf committee. Okay.
when we ask, and I think I explained that to you, we were going to vote whether to keep the charter the same way. And then there was one supervisor had an objection to one thing and another one had two. And then you brought up there might be some legal things. So that's when all of us decided that we wanted to hear your legal objections to the golf committee. But what we're going to get, it sounds to me like, is a charter. And that's not, and that's okay. I'm willing to look at it. But I think I'm not the only supervisor that was concerned about the legal aspects. That's what I wanted to hear about.
Sure. Yeah.
And-
I think, I guess my understanding, and if the board wants to put me on a new path, certainly please do, was that my my recommendation would be borne out in a new draft of it's called the golf charter. It's just the rules of the committee, but that's what it's called. So that's why I refer to it as a golf charter. Just that my recommendations are reflected in just a few changes. And that I would present that to you all for your consideration or, your own amendments or what have you. So I was planning on having that product to you before the next meeting so that you all could, do
I
what
think, I
do
think
what
that's
you'd like.
fine. I think
Okay.
that's fine then, because it just, as
Yeah.
long as we're able to discuss it and all the supervisors be able to look at it.
Yeah, there's a provision in the existing rules, for instance, that allows the committee to make their own rules and to amend rules as they see fit, which defeats the purpose of having the rules set by the board in the first place, right?
Yes.
So that's one area, just confirming that, that they're what we call a pure advisory board, and
Exactly.
establishing very specific guidelines for them to follow that are not in the current version, which, I can identify the legal issue, but I think it's better if I just tell you what I recommend so that you can say, yeah, that looks good, right? So that was my plan, and if it sounds like,
Oh, that's,
Okay.
That's fine.
and see, then that's what I was concerned about. It's the legal advice, the golf committee.
yeah, the
And I just don't want to,
the distinction in Florida law is that there are lots of boards that are advisory boards, but if an advisory board makes a recommendation, for instance, that brings them out of the exemption of the Sunshine Law. So if they're running around in their capacity as board members, coming to board meetings, making recommendations, that could pose an issue. Their current charter also has language that's a little fuzzy with respect to public access to the meetings. I want to make sure that complies.
Very good.
Yeah, so
Very good.
that's all I'm going to bring to you. So
very good.
absolutely. You all voted on it earlier in the consent agenda, but my plan is to have all outstanding litigation with our office transferred to the appropriate firm within the next week or two, and that would be the Sokoloff firm. We started with approximately 48 foreclosure cases that we filed in the last, since January of this year. I've settled about 10 of them since, and I'm going to settle 2 more of them here in the coming days. So I think there's approximately 38 files that will be transferred over to their firm, and it's within the existing agreement. It provides for all the applicable costs and things like that. I've already communicated with Owen and his team, and we have that process all laid out. And I just actually sent him an email a couple of seconds ago letting him know. So we're going to get that going so there's no gap in providing that service. Have not had a chance to speak with Mr. Hornick. I believe he's on vacation right now, but I've spoken with Boz since our last meeting, and we have a good direction we'd like to follow in getting him to, he mentioned previously that he'd like to exercise the option with respect to several hundred lots in the Unit 12 area. My presumption is that he wants the environmental offset land to kind of tag along with that. We'd like him to just do what he's going to do here as quickly as possible so that we can get on with it. Boz checked with our environmental consultant, or the district's environmental consultant, on precisely what the requirements are for the environmental offset that he's requested, and we're going to work with that individual to make sure we have a recommendation for you all that's consistent with Florida law. Today is the deadline for the property appraiser to give the district notification of his decision on the district's request for tax exemption for the district's 948 lots that we applied for. I assume that's in the mail right now. I haven't seen it. I can tell you, I can probably guess what it says, but the tricky thing here is, we're going to make sure over the next 2 months that we do everything we can to solidify the district's rights with respect to that decision so that whoever the next team is, they can just pick that up and keep it going. And that's it. The last thing we had mentioned at the last meeting, I had sent Boz dates that I was available for training, for the training that you are required to undergo each year as mandated by the state. I'm available the end of July, early August to do conduct the training. It's a free, our firm offers it for free. I think it's a lot of fun. We cover a lot of fun topics. Last year, I don't think we had a lot of staff there, but I'd like to have staff present at the meeting because particularly for the public records portion of the training, because that impacts everyone at the district, whether you're an elected official or just an employee. So I'm still open for that. I can resend dates that I'm available to circulate with you all, and we can get that scheduled. The only thing we'd have to do, we'd have to notice the meeting maybe a week or two in advance. So, starting maybe the end of July, third week, fourth week of July, in the beginning of August, I think those would be appropriate time windows.
I'd like to get that done if we could. So could you send us more dates,
Absolutely. Yep.
please? Is that okay with the board?
It is. I'm not available
I know we
through
got.
through the 28th of July, so it would have to be after the 28th.
August 1st is a Friday. Local governments don't like to have meetings on Fridays, which makes them excellent days to have trainings. So Fridays would be August 1st or the 31st or 30th, or July 30th, 31st into August. I can accommodate any day and time. The only there's one day in July I can't do it, July 18th. But other than that, I'm pretty open. So I'll circulate dates though, and then you all tell me what you prefer.
Okay.
Are we going to do it all at once? Does that mess up with the sunshine? Do we have to be careful?
No, so we're going to notice the meeting as a workshop.
Okay.
And and we're going to,
That way it's legal.
Yeah.
and it'll be open to the public. So if anyone from the public wants to come and sit through 4 hours of me talking, they're certainly welcome to. And that means it's all compliant with the rules. I actually want to recommend that the golf folks, because that's the only subcommittee that you all have, they should come to at least for the first half of the presentation for public records, because that impacts them as well. Even though they're exempt from the Sunshine Law as a pure advisory board, everyone who is a board member, an employee of the district has to deal with public records issues. So I want to make sure that's in their heads. So, but I'll make that, I'll tell Boz who I think should show up to the meeting, and then he can figure that out. It's sort of his domain. So other than that, I have nothing else unless you all have any questions.
I'd just like to see you after a meeting, if I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
We're not required to go RFP for legal counsel, just for situation awareness for y'all. We did last time because I was not familiar with the legal capacity regionally and in Sebring area or Islands County. I'm more comfortable now. We have a lot of contacts through FASD and others. So I would, unless you direct me otherwise, we can RFP it, but now we just extended it to about a 3-month process. We'll do some vetting of some candidates locally as well as regionally, and I'll bring those to you with a recommendation of who we would like to bring on to try to meet the 60-day and have no overlap. So unless you want me to RFP it, I think I'm comfortable knocking it out.
And I wanted to tell the board what I told you, and like I told when we hired Garrett, that I know Garrett works directly for the board, but he helps you a lot. I don't want to really get too involved in who you want, just because they got to work with you. So I'm up for, you coming with a recommendation, and if it's sounds okay to you and the rest of us, it's fine. But I just assume you do it like we did when we did Garrett.
Sure.
Okay, just so everyone knows that. Okay.
Thanks.
Are you next, Boz?
Yes, sir. So we'll go through here. Still completing some road work. Probably got another week, and then we're done. Just for awareness of our residents, and we reached out. A lot of the work is done in non-habited areas. So when we tear up the intersections, there's not much to repair. If we are impacting someone's house, someone's intersection, we are responsible. We will repair the grass, the landscaping. It may be a few days later, but that's a different contractor. That's our guys. So we'll, just for awareness there, we'll clean up the mess that we do and get it working there. We're continuing the swales. You see the map there. We did the Barbosa. We're going to start working in the ABC streets. We're continuing that through the summer. That's those big red lines, starting from east, moving west as much as we can. There are other efforts going on with smaller pieces of equipment, but that's where our heavy equipment is to get those backyards cleared out. to include, we're giving notice to individuals that over the years, based on lack of enforcement and just residential creep, I'll call it, put into our easements sheds and landscaping and stuff. We're giving a lot of notice to those individuals. We need them moved. That needs to be cleared access, and we'll get to a point in time where they'll have to be directed to move because it's impeding our access. So we're working with them. No residents have pushed back yet, and I appreciate that. And to include our guys will help them move the shed and whatnot. We're going to be as helpful as possible just to clear the swale so we get the water working. Interior design work for the restaurant and the pub, not the banquet hall yet, because we're waiting on the final designs. What you see posted back there are pretty much the conceptual with some of the interiors. That'll be the next part they'll tackle. They'll be here starting next week. This is just a company that works in this space. They'll work with Mike and the team in there, and we'll start presenting to you what our future of the pub, I'm calling it, and the restaurant will look like for your feedback on that. That's tied into the banquet improvements, but we'll bring that to you all over the next few months. They provide products and equipment like that, or recommendations that we can take out or move on if we decide. But that'll give you some visuals of what we expect the aesthetics to look like on the inside. I got some pictures in here. We'll talk about the 30-50% coverage. Tax payment for parcels, like Garrett said, wait on what the tax man says, and then we'll come to you with how far you want us to push this. It's a lot of money we pay, and we're not supposed to pay. So we'll sort that out, though. So I'll go through these slides real quick. This is our 4th of July, or what we call the 3rd of July event. This is our laydown, parking, no change in where the fireworks get shot off, basically right by the cart barn and the dog park area. We'll have some parking. We'll have golf cart specific, handicap in general. Seating will be all the area that's not in the parking area. That area will be fenced off. You see the blue, that's all the food trucks, the vendors. We have the DJ, music. So this starts at 5, goes into the evening. Our weather plan is it's gonna go as much as possible that night. If we have a really big rain out, the only exception is we could do the fireworks on the 4th, but all the other ancillary stuff won't be happening because all these vendors have 4th of July commitments. So we can still shoot fireworks the next day if it's not that bad. We'll bring them back at 9 o'clock. They'll shoot fireworks the 4th if need be. But right now, unless it's really a downpour, even a slight mist, we'll be shooting fireworks off on the 3rd at 9 p.m. So that's our plan.
Are you charging the food trucks this year?
Yes, it's $50 for them to set up, and then they charge need. We'll have Island View is providing drinks for sale on site for that window of time, and our recreation team is providing soft drinks for sale with our recreation department. So that'll be under the shelter, the place back there behind the pool. But yeah, all the vendors are vetted by the county, have proper certifications, and they're paying us a fees.
And that's not including the event going on in Island View.
Yeah, not tied to this. That's a separate event. Mike's got that. Yes, ma'am. We're just synchronizing the time of the fireworks.
Okay,
So that,
because that starts at 5 o'clock too.
yeah, no,
Okay.
totally different. This is going to be just citizens coming with lawn chairs and sit out there and listen to the DJ and have some food. So that's going on the 3rd. Staff is standing by to execute this into the evening, and we'll do a site cleanup, get rid of the trash and all that stuff the night of the 3rd. Our recreation complex, so this continues to build over time here. This is what's presented at the town hall we hosted, as well as it's also a slider we have in the hallway of the rec center. This is basically pushing out the back of our existing pool, so we will have 2 pools. Combination of a new pool, spa, our new yoga and gymnasium, as well as what we call the hammock island and fire pit. It'll all be pushed out to the south. We're waiting on some permitting. I gave you some update. Our holdup, it's not really a holdup, it's just a couple week delay. Because of the space we're pushing this into, we have to show a water offset somewhere else, and we're doing that around the dog park. So we're waiting on that certification through the West Florida water folks. Once we get that, then the contractor will come in here and start pushing some dirt. And that's what your addition. So it won't be connected to the current rec center. There'll be the gap where the bathrooms are. There'll be a cover, but it's not physically connected. And then you'll walk into the yoga and the fitness complex. That gives us the ability to turn that library becomes the new gym, or the old gym becomes the new library, gets it out of here, and it gives residents 24-hour access outside, that same size. So we'll move the library. It gives us a meeting room behind us here to offer that to meet folks. And it gets all the events we do in here from yoga and exercise goes into the yoga room. So that frees up this space for rentals during the day.
Where's the library going?
Where the gym is now.
Okay.
We're just moving it to the outside. So you'll have outside access, better view, and we'll just reconfigure it. So, for information, that room says meeting room. We've made that now the new rec manager and events person lives and works back there. So citizens can access them from inside as well as outside, and they have immediate access to the pool. They walk out the back door. So the rec management team is in there where the rec people are working in where they work now, and it kind of gives some office space that we were lacking for our rec manager. So this is what your new pool complex will look like. The only thing I'll bring to you in the near future is if we want to name it. I'll bring that to you. The only thing we've named internally is the banquet hall is the Lake Granada banquet facility. We just tied it to the lake. If we want to change the names, I'll bring it to you all. You'll tell me what name you want to call it. And the same with our new pool. So we'll give you some recommendations. All right, 30 to 50%. We talked about this last month. So right now, the county rule is 30% of your front yard cannot be non-permeable surfaces, meaning it has to drain. We, as a district, a few years ago, asked the county to expand that to 50%, and that's what the county charter has changed to. Concerns with that is we've had some builds in the past that are exceeding that. So here I gave you some examples from an overhead shot of ones that are in the 50% range. They went to 50%. So this is off of Myrtle on the golf course. It shows a person that wanted a larger drive. They have double access onto Myrtle, but that person goes beyond the 30%, which the county rule is. But we're able to authorize it. So that's one example.
That exceeded the 50%.
That exceeded 50% actually. So yeah. This one on actually, is this you, sir? This may be your neighbor. I don't know. It's near you. I know that. So this is on Madeira. On the golf course as well. This person, again, just wanted to drive around, comes out onto the street and has going into a driveway. They're still very aesthetically pleasing. It still looks nice. It's still good landscaping, but it goes beyond the 30% rule.
So do they not get permitted or?
Well, no, we permit them. They're legal right now through our current code.
But I thought you said they were over 50%.
The first one was, but we're not.
So
we can't go back.
How did that happen? I guess
that's right. Yeah, I would have to do some homework on that one. And then this one finally is same thing. This is I think it's on Pebble. Same thing, just a turnaround. So if you drive by all these houses and you see others in the district, and you can see a comparable, a guy or a resident with a standalone single driveway, that's what you would look like. It's not like what we have where they totally pave the front yard, and that's unacceptable. And now we have the control measures with our driveway permits and our inspections that we can stop it. I wanted to show you 3 that went beyond 30%. If these 3 examples in your mind just visually are acceptable, we'll keep it at the 50 and we'll move out that way. I don't have a problem with that. Just I wanted awareness because I got residents saying, why do you allow that? Why do you do that? All that type of stuff. So more so for discussion and getting your feedback, and then we can either see how we want to either adjust or let sleeping dogs lie.
As I was on the board when we did this, and it was only, there were special circumstances that they were allowed that. And I like Supervisor Norton, I don't mind 50%. I don't want an oops and they get 60 and that's what, it's not supposed to happen. So if 50% sometimes when the lot's a certain way, it makes sense, or up to 50, 30% sometimes is, I like the flexibility, but I don't want over 50. I don't want any mistakes on it.
Agree. And for your confidence, because of our permitting, our code, our new rules, our enforcement, we catch these a lot earlier during the build. I'm comfortable enforcing that. It's hard to go back in time and correct stuff, but at least moving forward, if you guys are fine with the 50, we'll leave the 50 and we'll enforce that up to. If anyone busts 50, you'll be hearing about it. I'll bring it to you for an exception to policy. That's all.
Right.
Well, that's my opinion. I mean, there might be other thoughts, but it makes sense with some lots, though, to have that. So,
Okay, well then I got guidance from you all, if that's consensus.
Yes, yeah.
We'll leave it alone and you'll hear about any problems. We talked about our meeting schedule here. We're still with the county working with the additional land. That's based on, once we start getting some products from Haskell and our wastewater, we'll be able to approach the county saying we need these other parcels. So I'm not worried about that. Recycle plant, to the best of my knowledge right now, you guys are all comfortable staying with the county one more year. Then there'll be a holistic assessment of the county waste contract. So that'll be done next year. In my discussions with the one vendor that replied to our RFP, they're willing, if we have an open discussion with them, they're willing to keep the rate the exact same next year. So now we can compare apples to apples with the new county rate and the vendor rate. So they're willing to, they understand, they know it's a money thing. They're willing to, this is the county, this is the company out of Polk, that if the district wants to move forward, we can either re-RFP it next year, or we can just, they'll keep their rates the exact same, and we'll address it next year. So if you're comfortable sticking with the county, we do it one more year. There will be a major increase next year with the county. I think they've told you individually.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. This is the last year of their contracts.
Boz, what do you, I mean, I looked at that and said, well, we probably should do it one more year, but what do you think about that? Does that make sense?
I was leery because I thought we would lose a vendor that wanted to get their foot in county.
Okay.
After a discussion with them. If there, I don't need any approval or motion.
Yeah.
If I have an agreement internally with them, then that's something that I'm comfortable that we can hold on, because in the future, they want to expand to other counties.
Okay.
So I think they're honorable enough, and we're honorable enough, we can move forward that way, and we'll see how it goes. And if we do a new RFP, we do a new RFP. They'll bid. Right now, no one else bidded. There's just no one else is in this space, so that's not going to change. But I'm comfortable for one more year based on what the county now locked in for the rate increase. So I'm good. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
But I will be arguing next year we need to jump.
Yeah, why I hope that. Go ahead, Greg.
But if we're included under their proposal next year with that new provider as being part of the contract, are we obligated to honor that?
The provider.
If right now Waste Connections has the contract of which we were under that contract.
Yep.
If they negotiate next year and say, by the way, that includes 13,000 residents in Sun and Lake, which has got to have an impact
Oh, it's
on their.
1/3 of their contract. Yes,
Okay. If they come back with a proposal that we find unacceptable, when are we obligated to honor the contract? Can we get out of being under the county? Period.
You'd have to probably give the county advance notice of the district's intent to.
We won't know what their proposal would be.
I think if we press them as much as we pressed them this year, the reality is the county would not have come to offer the true cost in probably till September. And that's what they did for the past years. They've came really early to the table based on our pressure. I think if we give them second quarter of next year, we say we need you to lock in a time, lock in a new cost, and be upfront with that sooner rather than later. We're just going to force the discussion with the county earlier than needed. Yeah.
Okay. And I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But if, they control our zoning, they control this, can we move out of there?
The question was, since we're considered unincorporated, they control unincorporated waste management. Can we extract from that?
You're going to have to come to some agreement with the county to provide for that provision of authority. So you're going to need them to agree.
They have to agree. So if they don't agree, whatever that guy's contract is doesn't mean anything to us.
No, agree. If they don't let us out.
And I don't know what their response would be, but if I had 13,000 residents, that's a significant impact. And their cost will go up dramatically without 13,000 residents on there. I think I hear what you're wanting. I understand what we want to do, but I don't want to go down there and then they sit there and say, guess what? You want what you want, but you're going to be under us.
You're right. We would have to still get that agreement now, though. Even with asking to extract right now, because how the county contract is, we would have to bring, their board would have to say, get Sun Lake out of there this
Right,
year.
I understand
So
that.
both years, they have a vote to keep us or get rid of us. Even this year, even if we wanted to extract right now. That makes sense?
But, well, we would have to negotiate with them, but they're going to, 13,000 residents are included in that proposal of keeping it at 262.
Yes, sir.
They're not going to agree to let us go.
No, you're right.
And they're not, well, probably not going to next year.
And next year would be part of the bigger bid. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I agree with Craig, because I've been in on conversations with Scott, and they're not going to take this very well.
I know.
And we got to be, just from a few of the comments that I heard, I think we're going to be, I don't want to use the word threatened, but they have a lot of power over us when it comes to that stuff. And so and I'm sure you're aware of it. You sound like you are, but I would be prepared for some real big pushback.
I don't think,
Okay.
I agree.
And keep
my
us,
problem is I don't think
and keep us informed.
I don't think we can legally do it.
Yeah, I don't know if we can. The way Scott talked, I don't know if we can do it. So, okay. Any questions for Boz? Okay, I have a couple here.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
The yard work on the where the hogs damaged.
Yes.
Is that at a standstill, or are we working on that?
It's a third-party vendor for sod, and we're just waiting on sod.
Okay,
So,
but it is in the process.
oh, yes, sir. Yeah,
Okay.
we've leveled it out. We just got to get the sod in there.
And we
Yep.
finally got, that fence
We
looks
fixed the
very
fence.
nice now. It took a while, but it worked. The swales over in the ABC streets.
Yep.
We've only done one road, haven't we? Or in the middle, and that, I don't even know if that's complete.
Yep.
But we haven't dug it all. Are we waiting for a drier time, or?
Yes, it's
Okay.
submerged right now, and we'd be getting stuck all the time. So we're trying to
Okay.
let it dry out. You got to understand, when we start doing the other ones, there's a survey that's involved. We got to make sure the line's shot.
Okay.
So that's administrative time consuming as we roll.
Okay,
We
but-
just can't just keep rolling down there. So
And I
Yeah.
did notice on that one street that we got a shed in the middle of it.
yes, yeah.
Is that gonna be moved?
We are discussing with that resident to move his shed.
Okay, so you will be working on the other streets, just clearing, or can't
It's
you
doing
clear
exactly the same we did there. We will
until we can get in there and dig it
we will
out?
clear it, and then as we see it's cleared, we'll see a lot of the water just naturally flow now once
Okay,
it's cleared. So we're not just going to automatically dig. We don't need to dig people's
Right.
backyards if we don't need to.
right, if you're gonna wait and see, but
Yes. Yeah.
the other streets will be taken care of. I mean, we're in the
It'll be the
process.
same thing. If we need to dig, we'll dig. If we don't, it'll just be cleared.
Okay, and Navarro, we're doing I think it's Navarro, where we're replacing the pipe.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
That's, I drove down there,
Mhm.
and is that gonna be tore up, or is it done?
No, we're doing all boring.
It's all
So we're
boring
not doing
and-
open trench. So we're trying to not impact people's service.
Mhm.
So all that work is underground to include the connections. And then all we will do is shut off everybody for like an hour, and then we'll switch.
And
that happens next
it'll
week.
be completely
It'll be
done.
done.
We
You're-
don't have to dig it up.
No, sir. You won't
Good.
see any
Very
changes
good.
to anything over there. Yep.
Very good, good. And one last thing, again, I've asked, like, I know 4 times, maybe at 3 terms, I want some financials on the wall.
And I had it
Please.
on my desk yesterday. I apologize.
Okay,
We'll make sure we get it to you today. As soon as
Please.
this meeting's
okay.
done.
Well, send it to the whole board, not
Okay. Yeah,
just
yeah.
me.
All right.
And I think that's all I have for you, Buzz.
No issue on the 25. It's all within budget, just so you know. Your golf minutes are in here. Working with the golf committee, obviously we got some charter issues we're working through. There's the way their minutes are worded, it seems very, we are asking X, Y, and Z. I'll attend next week's meeting and we'll have a discussion with them. They are advisory, so they need to ask or bring a concern to our attention. And then if there's something that needs to be done, I will bring that to you for a potential project. But if you read this, it looks like they want a new tee box and we're going to give them a new tee box. Well, that doesn't happen that way. So
Yeah.
I'll have to work with our golf committee and explain the procedures to them. So,
Okay. But you're bringing it to us, all right?
yeah, if there's something that's not budgeted for, sure, I'm going to bring it to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's no really issues with departmental. We're just working across mainly the budget and other issues. Yeah, that's all from my seat.
Okay, follow-up items, new business. Is there any discussion to and from the board?
I just make a public comment to the staff and the resurfacers for the pickleball courts. They look outstanding. A lot of feedback from everybody. Whoever picked those colors, they love it.
I'm going to buy that guy a Coke.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, this meeting's adjourned.